I gotta be honest with you, this build started off as a meme. I was thinking to myself, what would happen if I actually make Kratos the luckiest guy in the 9 realms? It turns out he becomes crazy strong, and if you forget about the Berserker set, which is the most OP build in the game, this one, the lucky build, is the strongest one, in my opinion, and you will see why shortly. I made Kratos so lucky that he's the kind of guy who can win at the lottery without even playing. That's kind of crazy. So, if you also want to make me lucky, feel free to subscribe to the channel because we are closing in on 4,000 subscribers, something I think we can attain before the end of the year. So, make me lucky, and thanks. Let's dive into the build. For our chest armor, we will use a Breastplate of Guiding Light, which has a moderate luck chance that any hit will increase our strength, runic, and luck on any weapon. It may not be the weapon you're using at the moment, it can be another weapon. When you switch to it, all those stats are going to be raised for that particular weapon. And when it comes to our raised armor, we're going to use the Berserker Gauntlets because not only does it increase all our stats significantly, but it also allows us to reduce the cooldown on our Relic on any successful hits. Any hit whatsoever. This is kind of crazy. Lastly, we will use the Waistguard of Guiding Light. Melee attacks have a luck chance to critically strike, creating a damaging explosion, and because we only have one piece of that armor, the base chance is raised by 4%, and this is I think this is significant because when it does prompt, it deals a lot of damage. Also, this armor piece gives us a lot of luck. But you can also use a Berserker. I think you can also use a Berserker Waistguard. Let me find it. Yeah, this one. You can use this also because every single time you parry, take damage, or do something else, you're going to replenish your relic. But I strongly advise just using the Waistguard of the Guardian Light. When it comes to our enchantments, we're going to use the Vanaheim enchantment set because we have a lot of luck, and it's only fair to take advantage of that luck, which is why every single time an enemy is afflicted by one status effect, our melee damage is going to be increased. And then I just proceeded to put here and there some enchantments just to raise that luck even more, because I didn't find anything else which would take advantage of the increased luck, so I just increased it to make some other piece of gear benefit from that luck. But I did put the Sigil of Doom here because our axe and blades attacks are going to can trigger a bonus sigil elemental explosion whenever we are hitting a hexed enemy, which is great because chances are we're always going to be hexing enemies, so might as well just take advantage. And because we will use a lot of Runic attacks, might as well just use a Seed of Runic Stone because, well, might as well just do that, allowing us to create a Storm of Bifrost, increasing the damage we can deal to enemies. And when it comes to Freya, it is very important that you actually equip the Sigil arrow so that enemies can actually be hexed. So everything I have here is going to increase how fast we deal the status effects and how damaging our melee attacks are going to be against hexed enemies, which is also a status effect, so we're going to benefit from the Vanaheim enchantment set. A lot of things working together to deliver a lot of damage. So now let's dive into, well, first, this is a Runic summon I'm going to use. Always use poison because it is that good, it can hit multiple people. And let's dive into the pommels. When it comes to our axed pommel, we're going to use the lucky knob. as the name suggests, every single time we use precision throw, there is a chance we create a stun blast, and that stun blast is significant because if you perform multiple axe throws, well, you deal a lot of stun. Amazing, even damaging people which are close together. When it comes to the pommels for the blades, we're going to use the cursed Empress handles, and that one pommel, it is great. It is amazing. Any blade hits are going to grant us a strength, runic, up to 3 stacks, and it is amazing. I have to say, this particular pommel doesn't work well when you don't have a lot of luck, but when it does prompt, when you get all those 3 stacks, oh my god, the damage is insane. The damage is significant, and I'm glad I finally made a build which actually takes advantage of those pommels. When it comes to when it comes to Draupnir, We're going to use this because whenever our Maelstrom is full, our Maelstrom skill gauge is full, we're going to be able to get a blessing of cooldown every single time we hit people using an axe, a spear attack, sorry. And it is, again, you're going to see how fast we can get back our Relic attacks. It is so amazing. I can't believe this is a thing. When it comes to the shield, we're going to use the Onslaught Shield because it increases our luck. You also notice that I was being careful, just putting things here to increase our luck. And the Onslaught Shield is great because we can close the gap between enemies while being protected. And when it comes to our round, we're going to use a round of 9 rounds, which allows us to have a chance to trigger a ramp shift every single time we parry. And guess what? Because our luck is that much, it is like more than 400. So there is a chance that every single parry is going to result in a ramp shift. It's like having ramp shift on speed tile. It is that good. It is, trust me. Every single tool you have at your disposal is going to benefit from having that much luck. That's why Kratos becomes so strong the luckier he gets. Spartan Rage, we're going to use Wrath because why not? And the Hilt of Skofnung is going to be our Relic because it is the most damaging Relic in the game and we can spam it every so often. You're going to see, it is amazing. We can spam it. And in case you want to also have a look at my skills, here are my skills. And with that said, we are done with this part. We actually show the build and now we can actually explain the build. One of my favorite movies of all time is Forrest Gump. And there's something they used to say. It goes, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. And this applies to this build. Because we have the Breastplate of Guiding Light, whenever you're using a weapon, and that might be the trickiest thing about this build, you always want to be on the lookout for which weapon is going to be empowered. It may not be the weapon you're using. You may be using the spear and they say you have blessed axe or blessed blades. It means that you want to switch to the blade so that you can actually benefit from the buff in strength, luck and runic. And because it is the case, it is the perfect time for you to use your runic attacks and probably trigger your Bifrost Storm. So I think the hardest thing to do when it comes to this build is understanding your luck and using it to your advantage, because you have sometimes it can feel overwhelming. You have all those things on the screen and it feels like you are going through an essay trying to keep up. I know it may be tricky, but if you allow the build to work and actually work alongside it, you will feel rewarded. So here's what I do whenever I'm using this build. When the fight starts, I actually just use my Relic. It doesn't even matter what the cooldown on that Relic is, I'm going to get it back, because remember that any successful hit is going to give us a blessing of cooldown and sometimes a blessing for especially going toward our Relic attack. So it means that whenever you use the Hilt of Skofnung with those multi-hits and swords flying left and right, those are going to contribute to your Relic refresh. This is silly. It is so silly because in less than 30 seconds, sometimes 20 seconds, you can get your Relic back from 200 seconds to 20 seconds. I think when it comes to just spamming your Relic attacks, this is probably the best build, even better than my instant cooldown, my instant Relic refresh build. Because my instant build, my instant build was mostly about those Runic attacks, not those Relic attacks. And this is, you can just see every single time on the screen, you will just see my swords flying left and right. It is so silly, and I love it. And also keep in mind that we can use the spear whenever our Maelstrom gauge is full. And it's the same gauge as your Immolation and Permafrost. So whenever you're using another weapon and your Relic is on cooldown and you have Immolation ready to go, you just switch to the blade. You don't have to pop the Maelstrom. You just use a spear whenever Maelstrom is the gauge is full, and you get even more cooldown or even more blessing of cooldown, even faster, allowing you to spam. Again, this build is silly and I love it. I love the fact that you can be that goofy with a build and still make it work and still make it damaging. Sometimes you don't even have time to do anything, just cut it, just the blades, the swords just doing their work, and they are trapped. There is nothing they can do, and by the time another enemy is going to come, you may actually have your rig again ready to go. It is so good, and I love it. You are blessed. I like the name. You are blessed with a spear, with your axe, or with your blades. It's just up to you to accept the blessing, to open your arms wide and just say, I'm taking it. Because I swear to God, I even went against Gna, and there was nothing she could do. I think I used the sword of Skofnung 3 or 4 times. 4 times during that fight. This is very silly for a 200-second cooldown weapon. And whenever that realm shift actually prompts, it is even more amazing, because it feels like every single parry can result in realm shift while you're just dealing damage. You have the power on the Empress, and you have those sigil arrows doing damage and hexing people. It is amazing what you can do with this build, and the Bifrost Storm and all those other things. Jesus Christ, the blessing of Runic, making your Runic attacks even stronger. Jesus Christ, I feel like maybe this build finally pushes every single piece of gear to their limits, actually making them work, because you always getting something from everywhere, and I just love it. The lucky build, honestly, New Game Plus is going to benefit a lot from that, because even if you go against multiple people, guess what? The more people you have to hit, the more cooldown you're going to get. So this build applies to everybody. You get lucky all the time, and again, it is amazing. I'm going to post a video with my fight against Gna using this build, so stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe, and let me know what you think about this build. Bye bye.